There we go. All right, the first one is review question number 3.
I think they figured that out.
That's all right. If you send it, somebody else has it. Okay, so that's the way I do questions. In other words, if you send it, chances are, look at there. See, that's the same question probably. Nope, close to it, but in other words, I'm going to go over it no matter what, because if you send it, chances are somebody else has the same question. So here's the question, and it says factor. Now this one, there's 2 ways to factor this one. One is to factor out a common term. 2 is to what? Just factor it using the reverse FOIL method. Okay? So either way, I don't really care. But if you're solving for x-intercepts, then you might want to factor out the common term. So let's go ahead and do that.
Whoa.
What? Magic. What? What's magic? 2a squared plus 10a minus 12. And if you were setting equal to 0, of course this is later, but if you were doing this, the best way to do it would be factor out a common term. Then you could set 2 equal to 0, which doesn't work. And then you could reverse FOIL this one. So break up the first term starting with 1. So that's going to be 1a and 1a. Can't screw that up because 1 times 1 will always give you 1. And then this one is going to be 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. Now you got to be careful here because you need a 5 here, and both of those will give you a 5. But this means unlike terms, so that means it's going to have to be the 6 and the what? The 6 and the 1. So you put a 1 here and a 6 here. This means that the biggest number has to be plus, and this means what? Unlike signs. So your answer is 2 times a minus 1 times a plus 6. Now that's if you factor out a common term. If you were to do the reverse FOIL, you would have to do the trial and error method, if it's doable, which it should be. 1a and 2a, and then you would have to remember the outside and inside gives you the middle term of 10. So you've got to figure out a way with the 1 and the 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4 to get the 10 in the middle. And I think we're going to use 2 and 6, because if you put a 2 here and a 6 here, that's going to give you, what's 6 and 4? 6 and 4 will give you what? It'll give you a 10, but you're going to have what? A plus here, and that's not going to work. So 2 and 6 don't work, so I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to put a 6 here and a 2 here. That'll give you 12 and what? 2, which will give you a 14 or a 10. So I'm going to put a plus here and a minus here, and that's going to give you a plus 6 times 2a minus 2. Now both of those are correct. The reason this one is probably the correct answer is because they want you to get used to factoring that out so you can set equal to 0, so this term basically goes out. So that's how you do that problem. Now, if you need some brushing up on the reverse FOIL, then you need to do that problem again, hit similar question, and don't factor out the 2 and do it by the reverse FOIL. How do you check it? Well, what's a times 2a? 2a squared. What's negative 2 plus 12? 10a. And what's 6 times negative 2? 12. So And that's how you utilize this technology. You don't just sit there and go, oh, okay, that's 2 times A minus 1 times A plus 6. Okay, I'm going to go to the next problem. No, you got 2 problems there. You can factor out a 2 and solve by the reverse FOIL, or you can use the reverse FOIL and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So hopefully you feel good about yourself, so you don't have to put smokestacks on your pickup truck. Okay? Nobody's got a question? I mean, I covered it so well that nobody has a question. I feel good about myself. All right, let's get to another one. Next question. Next question is number 7 on your online review. And of course, that was a test question. You will see that last one on the test. This one is a test question also. Factor out a common term. FOCT. Please do not pronounce it. It's called FOCT. Factor out a common term. So we got 3, k to the 4th, m to the 3rd, plus 6, k to the 6th, m to the 3rd, minus 15, k to the 4th, m to the 4th. When you factor out a common term, you always pull out the largest number and the what? The largest exponent that you can. Okay? So let's look at 3, 6, and 15. What will go into 3, 6, and 15? 3. What will go in k to the 4th, k to the 6th, and k to the 4th? I mean the smallest, sorry. Smallest. Okay? K to the what? 4th. And what will go in m to the 3rd, m to the 3rd, m to the 4th? And now you use basic math and your law of exponents. What's 3 divided by 3? What's k to the 4th divided by k to the 4th? What's m to the 3rd divided by m to the 3rd? What's 6 divided by 3? What's k to the 6th divided by k to the 4th? 6 minus 4 is? What's m to the 3rd divided by m to the 3rd? What's 15 divided by 3? What's k to the 4th divided by k to the 4th? What's m to the 4th? What's 4 minus 3? And now you just simplify it. 3 k to the 4th, m to the 3rd, times 1 plus 2k squared minus 5m. Now, a lot of you are saying, well, why did you go through that extra step? Because there's some of you out there that's not water walkers. Some of you have to review. That's who I'm here to teach. The people that think they created algebra, I'm not here to teach you. I'm here to teach the people that are reviewing and learning. And that's the way I teach. So if you want to, since you already created algebra, if you want to stay at home and create a cure for cancer, you're welcome to do that. Everybody with me? There's usually not too many people in there like that, but there are a few that think they created algebra. And we're not going to type that in there because I'm lazy and I can't type. So I'm just going to put a 3 there. And 3. And 3. And let's see if I got it right. It's a miracle. 3, k to the 4th, m to the 3rd, 1 plus 2k squared minus 5m. I feel good about myself. I'm a winner. I don't have to put too much makeup on and look like a Oompa Loompa. Mm-hmm. You ever seen those girls? You ever seen those? Got an orange face and a white neck?
Yeah, green hair.
And what? And what? And green hair.
That's what Oompa Loompa.
I ain't never seen no girl have green hair.
Oompa Loompa.
Well, I'm just saying the orange face and the white neck. Yeah, those are the chicks that'll take a bat to your headlights. You gotta stay away from them. Okay? Not that I would know, but you need to stay away from them. They're crazy, crazy. Next. I'm gonna let y'all do this one. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea what it looks like. This one says, no, this is R4. This comes from the 4th section of the review, and it's your online question number 15. And both so far, y'all are picking some good questions. Okay, find the domain. Whenever you're finding the domain, you have to set and you have a fraction, you have to set the denominator equal to 0. So go ahead and do that. Set the denominator equal to 0. That should be pretty simple. Well, those 4 people didn't Skype this morning, so I guess they haven't figured out how to Skype yet. They're probably calling my boss and at me because I didn't tell them. I don't know what that was.
You have a work email.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Now, if you set the denominator, why in the world you got to set the denominator equal to 0? Because most of the time, with x to the first, x to the second, x to the third, and so on, your domain, what can you plug into the function, is going to be all real numbers. You can plug in 1/2, you can plug in -2, you can plug in -6. But when you're talking about radicals and fractions, you've got to think a little bit. Why? Because you can't have this is an even index, you can't have a negative in a radical. And you can't have what in the denominator? You can't have 0 in the denominator. So if you have a function that's got a radical with an even exponent or a fraction with a variable in it in the denominator, then you're going to have to do something. Other than that, all real numbers. So, x minus 3 is equal to 0. X is equal to 3. So that means if I plug in 3, I'm going to get a 0 in the denominator, which doesn't work. So x cannot equal 3. So, there's 2 ways to write this. You can say x such that x cannot equal 3. That's called set builder notation. Or you can read it on a number line, -infinity, 2, 3, not inclusive, and then union 3 to what? Infinity. Or you can say that's called interval notation. And all of this should be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And if you're saying, oh yeah, I remember that, then that's good. If you're saying, I've never seen that before, then you've seen it now. If you don't understand what I'm doing, then we may need to talk. All I did was set the denominator equal to 0. What if you had a radical? What if I had this? F of x is equal to the square root of x minus 2. What would I do then? I would set the radicand equal to 0 because you can't have a negative in the denominator. So then you'd have to think a little bit. Okay, x minus 2 is equal to 0. X cannot equal, well, it can equal, I'm sorry. It can equal positive 2. So what do you get when you plug in 2? 0. What do you get when you plug in 3? 1. What do you get when you plug in 4?
2.
So those are okay, right? So what's the other direction? -1. So what happens if you plug in -1? You get -3. You can't have that. So in this case, all real numbers, x has to be greater than or equal to what? 2. So your domain for here is 2, or x greater than 2, equal to 2. This one is different because you got to have it. You can't have 0 in the denominator. You can have a negative in the denominator, but you can't have 0. Oh, that's it. Period. So whenever you have an even radical, or you have a fraction with a variable in the denominator, the domain is going to be affected. If the domain is affected, so is the what? Range. And grammatically, I can't remember if it's affected or effected, so y'all can figure that out. I don't need a lesson on it. Okay? I think it's supposed to be affected. So you type it in up here, you would say domain is not equal to 3. And hopefully y'all remember some of that from your Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So, 3. And you feel good about yourself, so you don't have to wear sunglasses inside. Y'all ever seen that before? Well, that's real sad. You see girls, you see a guy wearing sunglasses inside, run like hell away. No, you don't wear sunglasses inside. Well, teenagers. How about teenagers? Why does he wear sunglasses inside?
I don't know. He's not very social.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next, number 5. This is number 24. Number 5, number 24. Okay, there's several different ways you can do this problem. Why? Because it's law of exponents. Okay, law of exponents. Go ahead and write that down. It says 5 to the -4 times 5 to the -3. And there's several different ways you could do this problem. I want you to try to work on it because this is not coming from the class. I think this is coming from the online class. Hopefully you don't wear sunglasses in the gym.
Oh, he don't go to the
Oh, okay. So, what's one way you can do it? Well, you can use the inverse rule. And what about this problem cringes on your last nerve? Negative exponent. So you can use the inverse rule, and you can say, well, this is over 1 and this is over 1, so I'm going to flip it. 1 over 5 to the 4th times 1 over 5 to the 3rd. That's called the inverse rule. Okay, y'all should remember that. Whenever you have a exponent, negative exponent, you can flip it. And now, what's 1 times 1? And what's 5 to the 4th times 5 to the 3rd? What do you do to the exponents? You add them. And that's going to be 1 over 5 to the 7th. So that's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is say 5 to the -4th times 5 to the -3 is equal to 5 to the negative what? 7, and that's over 1, and now you flip it. Now, unless the question tells you to use a calculator, I would just do 1 over 5 to the 7th. Okay? It says write an exponential. What was that? Somebody's telephone? I'm supposed to go into cardiac arrest. Oh my God! I'm going to throw you out of the class. Is that good enough? They need life, don't they? What did they get? No, that is not correct. Are these the same? No. Okay. Now, can you raise 1 to the 7th power? Yes, you can. Okay. They're the same, but they're not the same. Why? because a lot of times, if this was an X, if that was an X in there, you wouldn't want to write it like that. But in this case, I would, if it was a test, this would be a good challenge question. I would accept that answer. But normally, they don't want you to write it like that. They'd rather you write it like this. Okay? So I think one of the online students sent this question, and I think that I've said that that would be okay on a test. But normally, you want to go ahead and take it one step further, because remember, a lot of you might not know this, but it took my 3rd year at Clemson. You got to say it with a Z. It took my 3rd year, Calculus 3. My calculus teacher, he grunted all the time. I had office hours with him, and he said, the simplest form is how many times your pencil hits the paper. So count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 6. So if you write it like this, my pencil hits the paper 6 times. Everybody with me? All right, let's do it here. 1, 2, 3, 4. See? Now, I don't know how many has ever been explained the simplest form by the times paper or pencil. That's what he did. And I've been teaching that ever since. So, I don't know if you had a math teacher tell you that before, but it works. Same thing with a mixed number and a improper fraction. Improper fraction is always the simplest form. Well, why you use a mixed number? The only reason you use a mixed number is for distance or weight or measurement. Think about it. Do you go into Walmart and ask for 11/5 feet of rope? Or do you ask for 2.5 feet of rope? Okay? So the only time you use a mixed number is when you use units of measurement. A lot of people don't even realize that. Y'all feel good about yourself? Good. And the last question. This is number 24. So far, all these are good test questions, so you're getting a good... Oh, it's the same one. Okay, so we're good with that. Now, let's talk about some more review questions. Let's go back to the... I want to go back to my coordinator course because I don't want to mess up anybody's. So I'm going to go back and we're going to look at some more problems. Because I'm going to tell you what's important and what you should really worry about as far as test questions on the review section. Because I might give you a review on the test just so you'll have an extra grade. You like that? Or somebody, when's it due? When's it due? Shut up. God, them people get on my nerves. All right. Let's back up. We don't want to do that one yet. I don't want to do that one. Let's see. I want to get a simple. Okay, we did one like that. I was trying to. Okay. All right. Do that one. That's the one we just did on the questions, but go ahead and do that one. And I would rather you factor out a common term. So I want you to factor out a common term no matter what they say. Or do it both ways. Do it both ways. Was this one exactly like the one we did? I don't think it was. I don't think the 8. The 8 was a 10 and the 10 was a 12. Pay attention, girl. You don't. And if you can't do it, just write it off as being a failure in life and you should quit school. That's all there is to it. They're hiring at Walmart and McDonald's, and hey, you're going to make $15 an hour. You can make a career out of being a cashier. You know, do that. What was that? Was that a bit? What was that?
That was me.
What was that?
It's a noise I make when I
A noise you make, okay. Kind of like a buzzer?
Yeah.
You learn something new every day. For those of you, I worked at Walmart when I was right at, or close, junior, senior in high school.
Scary.
There's nothing wrong. Well, back then, Walmart was Walmart. It was like the Target now, okay? Back then, it was like, oh, let's go to Walmart. Not now, it's not. I will not go to the LA Walmart. Nope, I go to Hartwell. If I want to get shot, maybe I'll go to the LA Walmart, but nope. I'll just stick with the Hartwell Walmart. But I don't go anywhere. If it wasn't for Amazon, the Highway 24, Ingalls, and Walgreens, man, I wouldn't be able to survive. Amazon comes to my house every day. All right, y'all ready? So factor out of 2. Factor out of 2, you're going to get 2a squared plus 4a minus 5, 2a, 1, and 5. Now you can't mess up 1 and 5. I mean, 5, that's a prime number. If you mess up 5, I want to see how you do it because I don't know how you can do it. Now, the only thing you got to do now is worry about the middle term. This middle term is positive, so that means 5 has to be positive. This says unlike, so if this is positive, this is negative, and you're done. Break up first term, 1a and 2a. Last term is going to be 1 and 10, 2 and 5. You got to remember, on trial and error, you're outside and you're inside. That 10 times 2 is going to give us a 20. That's not going to do us any good. 20 is too high because you got to get an 8. So flip it. So that's going to give us a 2 and a 10. Okay? That's possible. So let's put a 2 right here. No, 2 and 10 will give us a 6. Okay? So that's not going to work. That's 4 and 6. So that's not going to work. So it's probably going to have to be the 5 and the 2. So I'm going to put a 5 here and a 2 here. And that's going to give us, hey, 2 and what? 10. 2 and 10 will give us a 12 or a what? An 8. We need a positive 8. So the 10 has to be positive. And this says unlike. So if that's positive, this is what? Negative. So your answer here is 8 plus 5 times 2a minus 2. I want you to learn how to do it both ways because we're going to get to completing the square and you're going to know how to do it 3 ways. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to try to get y'all out of here. I'll try to get y'all quit. That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to get y'all quit. Withdraw. So hopefully y'all won't have to grade y'all's papers. I don't grade any papers, so. Let's look and see. I just want to get rid of y'all because I don't like y'all. That's what it is. How's your other classes? Yeah. Wonderful. Look what they got. 2 times a minus 1 times 8 plus 5. Pendleton, how's your classes?
Terrible. Not fine.
Oh my God. They're not that bad, are they? Are they? Oconee, how about yours? Pendleton says they're ready to quit. How about yours? How about yours in Oconee? How's yours?
I can't really complain at this point.
Good.
Yeah, same.
Well, Mr. Strickland, I would ask about you, but you're taking online classes, so I don't know if you're really taking other classes online or what, are you?
Yeah, I have 3 online classes.
She still uses like
You taking how many online?
like old
3.
school
3?
paper on top.
I bet mine's the only one you can Skype into.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Her room is like
Okay, let's do a nerd. Let's go to the next one. Eventually, y'all will get discouraged. Okay, what was that, number 19? Was that this one? That was this one, wasn't it?
Using child.
It's supposed to go to the next one. Why didn't it go to the next one? Oh, because I didn't type in the answer, that's why. There we go. Oh, yeah, you might as well quit on this one.
Never that.
Yeah, quit.
Never that.
Why? Because it's got too many exponents, yep, so you might as well quit.
Never that. Big numbers.
Yeah, too big of numbers. Wait till you see the fractions.
We'll quit.
Yeah, then you can really quit.
As long as we have these whole.
I'm gonna put decimals, whole number, I'm gonna put all kinds of stuff. When we get through a complete the square, there'll only be like 3 people left in this class. And I can just eat breakfast while y'all are supposed to be here, because nobody will show up. Factor out a common term, and do the reverse FOIL. 8z to the 8th minus 56z7 minus 144z to the 6th. So that's going to be 1 and 8, 2 and 4, 1 and 144, 2 and 78, no, 72, 3 and what? 3 and 24, no, 3 and 46, 3 and 46, I think, or 3 and 48. 3 and 48, 6 will go in there, 6 will go in there, 14, and 6, 24. I think 6 and 24, somebody help me out. 6 and 24. 8, no, I'm on, yeah, 8 and 18, right? Somebody check that one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you ready to quit? Good. I'm gonna go with 2z to the 4th and 8z to the 4th. Outside, inside, and let's see, I need a 56. So I'm probably going to go with that 3 and 48 first, or 6 and 24. Let's see, 8 times 8 is 64. 64, no, that's not going to work. You could try the, let's see, 8 times 8, 6 times 8 is 56. 24, no, 24 times 2 is 48. No, I don't know if it's going to be easy doing it that way. 3 times 48. Wait a minute. 48 times 2 is 96. 96 minus 24. What's 96 minus 24? That's close. That might work. I don't know. But anyway, we'll come back to this. All right, here we go. Factor out we can factor out 8, can't we? And a z to the 6th. And that's going to give us z squared minus, what's 56 divided by 8?
7.
7. Y'all know your multiplication tables. I'm impressed. 144 divided by 8 is 18. So that's going to be 18. So now you're ready to 8z to the 6th. Break up.
Yeah.
You're not going to mess up z unless you mess up. I think we're going to probably use 2, let's see, 1 times 18, 2 times 9. I think we're going to use 2 times 9. So that's 2 and that's 9. Which one's bigger, 9 or 2? 9, so it's got to be negative. This means like or unlike? So that's your answer there. And of course, I can't do this one in my head that quick, but I was thinking, what was I thinking, the 3 and the 48? 48 times 2 is 96, right? And somebody take 96 minus 24. What's 96 minus 24?
72.
Okay, that won't work. Okay, so I'm not going to switch 48 because 48 times, that's too big. So 72, I'm thinking out loud, y'all. 2 times 2 is 4. That's not going to work. This one may not be doable this way. I'd have to look at it. But you can see that the reverse FOIL on this one is going to be too complicated. It's okay for you to work on it at home. I'm trying to think. The best shot would have been the 48 and the 3, but or the 6 and the 24, but I don't think the 6 would work either. 6 times 8 is what? 48, and 24 times 2 is 48. That would zero out. So I don't think the 6 and the 24 would work. No. 18. Did I try 18? 8 and 8, 64. 18 times 2 is 36. So 64 minus 36, that's not going to work. So it may not. I may have to switch to the 1 and the 8. Let me try that. One and 8. 1 z to the 4th and 8 z to the 4th. Whew. Now you could try 6. That's 48 minus 24 will give you 24. That won't work. I still want to go with that 3 and that 48. 3 times 8 is 24. No, that won't work. 72. I don't know. I'd have to work a little bit more. Y'all can work on that at home. Anybody got it? Holler it out. It's a whole lot easier to do when you're sitting at home than it is to do it in your head. But that's your answer right there. You can type it in. Let's go to a nerd. Nerd. Oh, that was real simple. You'd be able to do that in your head. 7m minus 2 quantity squared. Why? How did I do that so quick? Because you know your shortcuts. Your 5 shortcuts. What are they? Number 1. A plus B quantity squared is equal to A squared plus 2AB plus B squared. A minus B quantity squared is equal to A squared minus 2AB plus B squared. You remember them now? 3. A squared minus B squared is equal to A plus B times A minus B. 4. A plus B cubed is equal to A plus B times A minus AB, A squared minus AB plus B squared. And 5, A minus B quantity squared cubed is equal to A minus B times A squared plus AB plus B squared. Now,
What are these?
oh my goodness. These are called, I call them shortcuts, 1 through 5. They're called the sum of 2 squares, the difference of 2 squares, the sum of 2 cubes, the difference of 2 cubes, all that stuff. That's what they're called. But I call them shortcuts 1 through 5. What'd you say? Well, I'm gonna give y'all an avenue in case you're really rusty. I'm gonna show you a couple of videos on my YouTube that you might can go to and get a little catching up. Okay. what is the square root of 49m squared? Well, first of all, which one does this one look like? Well, it doesn't look like 4 and 5. Why? Because those are cubes. Well, and on the right side of 4 and 5, you've got two sets of trinomial and a binomial. So this is just a trinomial. So it has to be 1 or 2. Okay? Because 3 doesn't have a trinomial in it. And what's a trinomial? 3 terms. Okay? So which of the 5 shortcuts has 3 terms in it? Number 1 and number 2. So, what is the square root of 49m squared? 7m, Hubert. Yeah, 7m. So that's A. What is the square root of 4? 2. So if you take 7m and you take 4, multiply it together, or 2, and multiply it by 2, you get 28. That means it's a shortcut number 1 or number 2. And in this case, it's shortcut number 2, which means you put 7m in for the A, and you put 2m for the B, and you get 7m minus 2 quantity squared. Now, the problem with this is in algebra, the teachers go, here's the shortcuts, but you can still do it by the reverse FOIL. And then when you're in college algebra, you're still doing number 5, and everybody else is finished with the test. You can't do everything by the reverse FOIL. Okay? Why? Because sometimes y'all were writing that down, and I told you it's 7m minus 2 quantity squared. And y'all were still writing the problem down. There's some of these, especially when you get into calculus, that you just have to see. You can't sit there and go, oh, well, I'm going to go back and do the reverse FOIL. No, you're not going to pass calculus, okay, or whatever math you're going into. So, to check, to see if it is, you take the square root of that, and multiply it by 2. And if you get the middle term, then it is a shortcut. It's one of these 2 shortcuts. Okay? And then you just plug and chug. You got to take the square root of the first term, square root of the last term, and then plug it into the A minus B or the A plus B. Now, you can also go the other direction. Okay? If I give you x plus 3 quantity squared, that is x squared plus 6x plus 9. You can go the other way too. So if I give you x plus 2 quantity squared, well, which one does it look like? Well, it doesn't look like this one, or this one, or this one. It looks like one of these 2. Looks like that one. But it's in this side, so now you're going to go, what's A? A, it's going to be x squared plus 2 times A times 2 plus 2 squared, and that's going to be x squared plus 4x plus 4. So you can go both ways. You can go left to right or right to left. Now, a lot of people come into college algebra and they've never seen these before. Some people have seen them but don't remember how to use them. And some people invented them, okay? Or think they invented them. All right? So you need to find out which one you are. If you don't know how to use them, then I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you, okay, well, time has to be over. But let's go back and let me show you where to go if you are a lost puppy on this, okay? And it might help you. If not, then you just quit. No, I'll go over them as many times as I have to go over them. But you got to send them to me. So go to YouTube. Go to my, somewhere in there. Let me clean this off, please. And you might want to go to my 102. Now, it's going to be old because I haven't taught 102 in years because they moved it over to another department, comprehensive studies. So I haven't taught it for a long time. But I spent 7 years when I first, wait a minute, 7 years teaching Math 102. So I went back and got my master's. So if you go down all the way to the bottom, you'll see Math 102. Those two, that one right there. That is the class that precedes this class. So you might want to go and look at it. I don't know what kind of quality it is because back then I was using a video camera. Okay? And you can look at some of them. Now the quality is not that good, but you might can do that. Okay? And send those questions. I don't care if you send them 5 or 6 times. Because the squeaky door gets what? It's your parents' fault. Squeaky door gets what? Y'all suck. Grease. OIL. The squeaky door gets grease. If you got a squeaky door at home, what do you do with it? Oh, I just keep walking through it. You put that gum WD-40 on it. Knowing some of y'all just keep walking through it, even though it squeaks, you just keep walking through it. No, you get some WD-40 and you spray it on the hinges. The squeaky door. The people that have the questions, send them. Now, you can also go to one, I don't think there's another 102, but you can go to 110 in the past and go over some, this review. I mean, you can do that also. But the main thing is you need to start sending me questions. 4 or 5 of you have already sent questions. That's good. Okay? But you need to start sending questions. All right. Hold on a minute. I'm going to stop the recording.